Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and unsurprisingly, I'm going to review another Jeff Lemire comic book. And I know probably a few of you out there now like, Shorty, why is it always you're reviewing Jeff Lemire? Don't blame me, blame Jeff Lemire. Dude never stops writing comic books, and he tends to work with interesting people, and I'm kind of hardwired to go for horror stuff, so yeah, I think just inevitably I'm going to pick up his stuff and check it out. He is still definitely more of a miss writer than a hit for me, but I don't think his misses have ever really been particularly bad. They've just not been what I want them to be. They've not lived up to expectations that I might have had for them. This is one of those where there's the elements of that, but I can see the potential. But that's for the tail end of this review. We're going to start by, actually we're going to start at the bottom of the credits, and it's the colorist. And when I first opened the comic book, there's actually a genuinely faded out colouring to it. Like, I can just show you that and you'll see what I mean. There isn't really much depth to the colour there. It's a very limited palette. But you realise very quickly that that's actually one part of the story, and a huge chunk of this first issue is a flashback that led to that point. And the colours become a lot richer. There's a lot more depth to them. And then there's a bit at night where there's a motor vehicle incident, and you get the lighting done from either the headlights of a truck, so white, yellow, or the rear lights of an upside-down car, so red. And the subtle shading in just these two colours really adds depth to it in a way which absolutely blew my mind. It was that point I was like, damn, who's doing the colouring for this? And I checked, and it's Jordie Bellaire, of course it is. She's amazing. There's hardly anyone in the world who's got game like her when it comes to colouring. There's like two other people who I'll pay attention to just for the colouring. Spicer, who worked with Daniel Warren Johnson, and I forgot her name, Anisha, who, sorry, I've got Radio Apocalypse just next to me down here, and I know she did that with Ram V, and I love it. So yeah, there's a few people out there who do really good colouring. She's one of them. And you can tell the moment you start seeing like depth to it and the love that pours into it, you're like, yeah, absolutely. And it also really highlighted the art, the line work at this point. Just going to go up in the credits a little bit here, and it is Gabriel Hernandez Walter. Apologies if I've mispronounced any of that. And I know this guy's work because he did The Vision with Tom King, one of my all-time favourite comic books. And this is a slightly more simplistic version of his art style. I think on purpose, it kind of matches like the reduced colour palette for some of the more intense bits. And also the detail when it's used feels like it's earned. There's like some brilliant shots of the inside of the truck where this guy, the main character, that dude, spends most of his life. And you do get like a sense of detail in there, which is really quite nice. And there's also some really good framing moments when it comes to action. There's a great sense of timing done with the panels and where people are within them. Like you get a genuine sense of peril and fear as somebody who's trying to flee an almost unknown danger, and eventually having to struggle to fight back. It all comes across really well, and it earns it fantastically. And then there's also just the fact they can do really good faces. All the expressions is brilliant. My favourite one is when we get a rather lovely bit of dialogue, and here we're going to lean into the writing as well, because this is fantastic dialogue. It's framed really nicely, and you get this all from the point of view of point of view at ground level of a kid under a table playing with trucks and cars as his parents are standing up nearby having an argument. Now, most of it you're just seeing between the legs of these people, or table legs, and you see the cars and the trucks he's playing with, and the kid's faces. He's clearly struggling to process what's going on, because his parents are clearly not in a great place. They are neither of them angels in this relationship. Both of them, seem to be trying to play off the kid as part of their argument, using his happiness as a weapon. And you can kind of see where both of them are coming from, but they're also both terrible people. One more than the other. I'm not going to pretend that's not the case. But the dialogue really sets up this idea of a struggle that you can't really control, which I quite like. And I feel like that's going to play in later on. And the other bit, and this is the real selling point that I might want to carry on with it, is there is a repeated motif throughout this of reflection. Basically, when he's in his cab of his truck, he sees a reflection of himself on the mirror, on the window. Which, you know, I think the way they truck things are angled, you probably wouldn't actually see that much, but it's obviously a motif for a comic book. And he sees himself reflected, and who he was, who he might be, who he doesn't want to be, in fact. And I think this is foreshadowing something that's going to make sense when we realise why they are on the Phantom Road. Because yes, the story is effectively in the middle of the night on a road, something happens, and this guy and his travelling companion are no longer in our world. They're on a Phantom Road, and there is monsters abound, and everything is washed out and grey. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to play into the motifs I've seen, but I trust Lemire enough that I think it will, and that's going to be kind of how it comes out, because it could be surface level. It could just be a case of this is an aspect of a part of himself or themselves that they'd rather not encounter. But I'd like to think there's going to be depth to it. I'd like to think that he's going to build up on this quite effectively and tell a story which is scary in its own way. This is a horror story and also can do something with that horror. I'd like to think that's the case. I'm certainly going to check out issue 2, but Lemire has burnt me in the past, so we'll see how it goes on that one. Anyway, that's it for me for now. I've got a couple more things I'm going to review this week. Make sure you're following, liking, subscribing, whatever you want to do, on whichever media channel you're watching this on. Until I see you again, though, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!